I never thought I'd become the kind of person who welded someone's car inside a building, but Karen Whitmore had a special talent for bringing out creative solutions to impossible problems. My name is Marcus, and I'm a custom motorcycle builder. I'd saved for 15 years to buy my dream property, a small house with a detached workshop on Maple Ridge Lane. The workshop was my sanctuary, a 30 by 40-foot steel building where I restored vintage bikes and built custom choppers. The massive rolling door could fit 2 full-size trucks side by side, and I'd installed professional-grade equipment that cost more than most people's cars. Everything was perfect until Karen moved in next door 6 months ago. Karen wasn't just any HOA board member. She was the self-appointed president, enforcer, and judge of our small neighborhood. Within a week of moving in, she'd already issued warnings to 3 neighbors about lawn heights, mailbox colors, and unauthorized decorative elements. I'd watched her measure Mr. Peterson's grass with an actual ruler, her tight blonde bob not moving an inch in the wind, her perpetual scowl deepening when she found it half an inch too long. I'd avoided her radar initially. My property was immaculate, my workshop was set back from the road, and I kept to myself. But Karen had a radar for people who didn't bow to her authority, and I'd made the mistake of not attending her mandatory HOA meetings. The first confrontation happened on a Tuesday morning. I was in my workshop, carefully airbrushing flames onto a gas tank, when I heard the crunch of gravel. I looked up to see Karen's white Lexus SUV pulling into my driveway, past my driveway, and stopping directly in front of my workshop door. I stepped outside, still holding my airbrush. Excuse me, you can't park there. Karen climbed out, clutching her tablet like a holy scripture. She was wearing her usual outfit, pressed khakis, a polo shirt with the HOA logo embroidered on it, and white sneakers, so clean they looked photoshopped. Marcus Henderson. She didn't wait for confirmation. I'm conducting a property inspection. Your workshop is in violation of Code 7.3, subsection B. No commercial activities shall be conducted in residential zones. I'm not running a commercial business, I said carefully. This is my hobby. You have a business license. I checked. Her smile was sharp enough to cut glass. That makes this a commercial operation, which violates our HOA covenant. You have 30 days to cease operations or face daily fines of $500. My hand tightened around the airbrush. Karen, I bought this property specifically because the previous owner ran a woodworking business here for 20 years. It's grandfathered in. The previous owner retired. The grandfathering ended with his business license expiration. She tapped her tablet. I've done my research. Unlike some people, I actually care about property values. Before I could respond, she climbed back into her Lexus, still blocking my workshop, and drove away, leaving deep tire marks in my gravel. That was just the beginning. Over the next 3 weeks, Karen made my life a living hell. She called the county inspector, who found nothing wrong. She filed a noise complaint, forcing me to install expensive sound dampening. She sent certified letters, threatening legal action. She even took photos of my clients' cars and reported them as suspicious vehicles. But the final straw came on a Friday afternoon, 2 days before I was scheduled to leave for a 2-week vacation to visit my sister in Colorado. I'd spent the morning finishing a commission, a beautiful 1972 Triumph Bonneville that was my masterpiece. The client was picking it up Monday, and I'd planned to leave it secured in my locked workshop while I was gone. I double-checked everything. Alarm system armed, doors locked, windows secured. I went inside my house to pack, and when I came back out an hour later, my blood turned to ice. Karen's white Lexus was parked inside my workshop. Not in front of it, not near it, inside it. I ran over, my heart pounding. The rolling door was wide open, and her SUV sat in the exact center of my workspace, taking up the spot where I'd parked the Triumph. The vintage motorcycle was shoved into a corner, perilously close to my welding station. Karen stood beside her car, taking photos with her phone. "What the hell are you doing?" I shouted. She didn't even flinch. "Documenting evidence. I have credible reports that you're storing hazardous materials in here. As HOA president, I have the authority to inspect any structure that poses a potential danger to the neighborhood. You broke into my workshop." The door was unlocked. That's negligence on your part. She smiled that poisonous smile. I'll be conducting a thorough inspection. It may take several hours. You're welcome to wait, but do try not to interfere with official HOA business. Something inside me snapped. Not in an angry, explosive way. In a cold, calculated way. I smiled back at her. Take all the time you need, Karen. I've got some work to do anyway. Her eyes narrowed with suspicion, but she went back to photographing my equipment, muttering into her phone about unsafe electrical installations and improperly stored flammable materials. I walked calmly to my welding station and put on my protective gear. Then I fired up my MIG welder, the blue arc crackling to life. What are you doing? Karen's voice had lost some of its confidence. Just a little project I've been meaning to finish. I dragged my welding cart toward the rolling door track. You can't, stop that immediately. I ignored her. The workshop door was industrial-grade steel, mounted on heavy-duty tracks. It had taken 4 men to install it. I positioned my weeding torch at the seam, where the door met the frame. Marcus, this is destruction of property. I'll have you arrested. It's my property, I said calmly, my voice muffled by the welding mask. I can modify it however I want. The first weld took 30 seconds. Brilliant sparks showered down as I fused the door to the frame. Karen's protests grew more frantic, but I moved methodically, working my way across the entire width of the door. Then I did the same on the other side, and the bottom. When I finished, I stood back and admired my work. The rolling door was now a permanent steel wall, sealed shut with industrial-grade welds that would require an angle grinder and hours of work to remove. Karen's face had gone from red to purple. You can't leave me in here. This is kidnapping. This is... The side door is unlocked, I said, pointing to the personnel door on the opposite wall. You can leave whenever you want. Your car, though. I shrugged. That's going to be here for a while. I could see the exact moment reality hit her. Her eyes went to her Lexus, trapped inside the sealed building, then back to me. You're insane, she screamed. I'll sue you. I'll have you arrested. You broke into my locked building, I said calmly, pulling out my phone to show her the security camera footage I'd just reviewed. You trespassed on private property. You moved my property. That motorcycle is worth $40,000, by the way, without permission. You parked your vehicle in my private workshop without authorization. Want to call the police? Please do. I've got everything documented. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. I gathered my tools and headed for the side door. Oh, and Karen? I'm leaving for vacation tomorrow morning. 2 weeks in Colorado. The spare key to this workshop is in my sister's safe, 600 miles away. Cell reception is terrible in the mountains, so I probably won't get your messages. Have a great weekend. The sound of her shrieking followed me all the way to my house. That night, I slept better than I had in months. The next morning, I loaded my truck and prepared to leave. Karen's husband had shown up with a lawyer and a locksmith, but the locksmith had taken one look at my welds and shaken his head. Whoever did this knew what they were doing, he'd said. This is going to require professional cutting equipment, probably a day's work minimum. The lawyer had served me papers, but I calmly pointed out that Karen had committed breaking and entering, trespassing, and property damage. My security footage was crystal clear. As I pulled out of my driveway, I saw Karen standing in her yard, her face twisted with rage. Her precious Lexus sat entombed in steel, a monument to what happens when Karens push too far. I spent 2 glorious weeks in Colorado, ignoring the increasingly desperate voicemails. When I finally returned home, I found the workshop door had been cut open, at Karen's expense, which my lawyer had insisted on. Her Lexus was gone, but it had suffered some unfortunate scratches from the rescue operation. The HOA had also received an interesting package, documentation from 3 lawyers proving my grandfather clause was legitimate, along with formal complaints about Karen's harassment. Within a month, she'd resigned from the board to pursue other interests. These days, when I'm in my workshop building bikes, I sometimes look at the scar marks where I'd welded that door shut. They remind me that sometimes the best way to deal with a Karen isn't to argue or comply. It's to trap them in the consequences of their own actions. And Karen? She won't even make eye contact with me anymore. Some lessons are learned the hard way, preferably behind steel walls.